Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 185, a free birth experience of love, connection, and self-trust. Introducing Spirit Baby Chronicles, a place to share conversation about Spirit Baby in the before life, the womb life, the afterlife, and earth life. And I have a special guest, Layla. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here. Thank you for having
Wonderful. Yeah,
me.
wonderful to have you. And I'm going to introduce your bio here in just a moment. And there's just some interesting words that I was just so inspired in this specific episode on free birth. I've been really calling this energy in for so long, and it feels like such an important topic for humanity and where we're going in the systems of maternity care. And I kind of wrote these words and I wanted to share them. Pregnancy and birth were never meant to be inside a system. Women and men come together to create their babies in their intimate space and to birth their babies in their intimate space and raise their families with heart, integrity, responsibility, and love and intuition. And then my question is, so what happened? That's probably a big question. And so let me introduce you. Layla Aluna is a water and womb priestess. She offers womb clearing and activations as well as guidance through the preconception journey. Her life's work is to help decondition fear around birthing, as she did herself through her second pregnancy and ecstatically free birth of her second child. Let's tell everybody where you are.
Yeah, I'm currently in Bali.
It's so
Mm.
magical there. I've never been there, but I've heard a lot of beautiful things.
It is a very, very magical island, yes. And both my little ones were conceived here. My son was born here, but then my daughter was born in Hawaii. So yeah, we definitely love those magical island vortexes.
Yeah, I know. That's so, yeah, that's so, I love that. And so I want to hear, and so I actually, for those that are tuning in, I feel like everybody knows free birth, unassisted birth. I actually even researched a little other names, so we're talking about unassisted childbirth and intentionally. It can happen unintentionally, but also it's the assistance of no medical care attendance. And it's known as the terms free birth, DIY birth, unhindered birth, and unassisted home birth. And so I feel like it's very controversial. We're not going to pretend that it's not. And but I feel like we're in such an incredible time of expansion that people are opening up. Men and women are coming together in their bodies in a way to really, feel the naturalness and the connection of birth. And I feel like the reason why I want more of this energy on Spirit Baby Radio, because I feel like everybody's story, whether someone's having a hospital birth, home birth, free birth, the free birth energy, I feel like brings it to the highest level, to be honest. And that highest level is that we can trust ourselves to have sex, really, to give birth, and to do it without all the systems, all the societal pressures, all the fear, all the traumas. And we know that that maternity system is really steeped into our subconscious. And there are freedom birthers, I'll call them, that are literally creating rifts of energy to me into consciousness to go, I mean, again, because it takes a certain level of energy, connection to feel that primalness and that intimacy. And so we would love to hear more. And we'll start even with your pregnancy where, I know you said you had your son right at home and then you free birthed your second. And so tell us more about that.
everything that you're pointing out. And it definitely is the dream, not for everyone, but I do feel in that collective consciousness or where we're trying to go, it is the dream to not have violence or abuse or distortions in the birthing space, because what every parent, every mother wants is to bring forth a baby that is whole, that is loved, that is a bubble of bliss, that is wrapped in warmth and home feeling, safety, connected, right? And so there are so many aspects of disruption of this frequency on the subtler level when there's interventions or the environment isn't set right, when there's some fear in the space as well, and so on. So for me, it has been very natural to birth this way just because of my life, of my upbringing, of my lifestyle. I always lived a very natural life from childhood. And so, I don't think I've ever even been in a hospital. So that would be just like
Mm.
so foreign, right? Like it's that would be like, yeah, just I think the worst case scenario for me personally. It does not feel any of those like homey, safe, intimate, right? And so that wasn't even an option in my psyche, right? That wasn't like my safety. So because I wasn't conditioned in that way, thank goodness. So it was very natural for me to be pregnant and to um, process my emotions. And of course, we are born into this society and there is a lot of conditioning, and we do bump into some of those norms that are not normal, but that are established in the society, right? And so for me, I would just witness that and of course just allow myself to process and allow myself to always come back to my intuition, to come back to my womb wisdom. So the interesting thing that happened to me during these pregnancies and during the births is that I truly awakened very strong womb intuition, very strong connection to my womb, almost like a channel. So
Mm.
I could really communicate with my little ones. I could feel them. I knew before even, the sonogram, I did have one ultrasound, each time, but I would know the gender before with 100% certainty, and then it was
Mm.
just a confirmation, right? So I was able, with all of my practices as a yoga teacher, as a body worker, as a breath work practitioner, as a woman's retreat facilitator, I was so in tune and so lucky that then during the pregnancies I dropped all of that and I just really dived into this.
Mm.
I dived into this mystery of pregnancy and womb, and it's such a portal. It's so beautiful and it's really magical once you start tuning in instead of out,
Mm.
and to the checkups and to the results and to the system, and you go in, you will find much, much more. Not only you will have 100% certainty of how the baby is, what's the health conditions, how the baby wants to come through, what is the visions for the birth, but you will also start tuning even more into who they are, what
Mm.
they like, what they don't like, what is their purpose, what, you will be in touch with their higher selves in a way. And so I think that is so crucial during the pregnancy to already establish this connection, because we all know the toddlers, we all know the teenager stage, right? It becomes really challenging afterwards, the whole motherhood journey, and you can hold yourself and you can navigate these situations and tantrums and meltdowns in a much soulful way, because also who that soul is, who that beautiful being is, and you
Mm.
can see through the tantrums and you can see through the like, I'm gonna kill him, like, and okay, he is a strong-willed child. We have a very
Mm.
strong-willed child, very, but also I know he's a new earth leader. I like he's
Mm.
this like force. and I want to keep that. I want to keep that for him.
Mm. You're so
Because
poetic in your words. You speak in energy poetry, and I want to kind of reverse back something that you said felt really important as you talk about the conditions. Like it's so like incredible even to me to go, wow, you've never had to be in a hospital experience. Like that is like okay, and like I'm like taking that in because I was born very traumatically in the birth of my life, and then coming through that I was medically abused a lot, and I think this is where my where my suspicions and where I've come to, and I feel like that our future children, like we can, and you're just even proof of that, we can like go through life without having to run to the hospital or needing to be saved. And there's so much I could say about it, and I don't think people are going to like what I'm going to say because, I feel like we can always heal and do things on a physical, emotional, energetic level before we're running to a lower frequency to get whatever that story is, to whatever that trauma is. And so it makes sense. You're like, it's like you said, it's like the energetic part, it's like not there. So why would you be a part of it? And it's the same, it reminds me of when women are doing home births and they say, oh, I could never, or women are like, a lot of women I've heard say, oh, I could never do a home birth. What do you do with the pain in the epidural? I said, well, if it doesn't exist in your consciousness and there's no option, you won't go there. But that's really hard for women to understand. So, because I said when I went into my home births, and though I had to transfer with the first, but I still didn't have to do all those interventions. But I said, but what if there was no other option, like it didn't exist? And so then you're having to work with your body. I know you heard you talking about breath, movement, like to work through labor, to work with the feelings, whether it's, stronger pains or maybe there's ease. I mean, it's different for everybody. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that. And the beautiful thing about our bodies is that I don't know what happened. That question, what happened? Like, did we forget we are meant
Mm,
to do this? Did we forget we have everything we need? Like these
mm,
bodies are capable, and we have those cocktails, those like painkillers and
mm.
hormones and bliss hormones and everything inside of us, and our bodies are ready to just like dose us during the labor,
I
right?
love that. The dosas. Yeah, it's like that's a great way of saying it. Yeah.
So once you start interfering with intervention, the body won't do it. And of course, I think women in the hospital settings with those interventions experience much more pain that is actually unbearable because the body is not responding with the natural cocktail of,
Mm.
you know, painkillers and bliss hormones and ecstasy and so on, and this is what I received from my own body. And, it was next level, like next level. When I say next level, like, I don't know anyone knows what I'm talking about because it was just so ecstatic. And I call my birth
Mm.
not orgasmic birth, but I call it an ecstatic free birth because
Mm.
the orgasm is really beautiful, but I
Mm.
was in ecstasy. I was like fireworks everywhere.
Mm.
Like, I was just like so ecstatic during my second birth.
You were
And
getting all that oxytocin, right? It's like
oh
pumping
my
through
goodness.
you. And let's talk about the ecstatic because I know with my second birth, I think we talked to like the last time we talked. I remember you're making me remember these moments where I'm sitting on the little ball in my little healing in this room actually. And
Wow.
and just like kind of bouncing on the ball. And I felt like these rushes of it felt like ecstasy, like really, it just felt like, and I went, wow, I'm like, this is what it's like not to be interrupted. And since I feel very deeply, I could feel like almost my jaw shaking, my pupils were probably dilating, and I was like in between, and it was like, yeah, my body would rush. And it was almost like my body was like in between the contractions. It was like giving me like an overload of like endorphin, of like happy endorphins, And
Mm,
I knew, and my husband has me on me on video because he was like trying to like connect and see what was happening. And he was like, "You're so calm." I was like, "I'm just going through it." I was like, I was kind of cosmic. And then, yeah, I mean, for me, it got a little bit harder. And then I did have that actually an orgasmic experience, not expecting it in birth. And I really felt it running through my like pelvic floor. And I was looking around going, wait, what's happening? And I realized too, I was very safe and it was a very dark room. Nobody was looking at me. The midwives I had in my birth, they were just kind of, I swear they were either meditating or sleeping. I don't even know. But I think what they were doing was right because they
oh,
weren't interrupting me. I didn't have to be ashamed. I didn't have to
yeah.
be embarrassed to have these feelings. And so I feel like it's so important to say that. Like I know what you mean by that, like that chemistry. And I didn't feel it with the first because it was interrupted. It was
Yeah,
interrupted and I went into survival. And
yeah,
so think about that. Like women probably go a lot into survival and they miss this whole piece. And so I want to hear more. Yeah, tell me more because I want to hear kind of what
amazing.
happened.
Oh,
And yeah.
I'm so happy that you were able to create that environment for yourself and really,
Yeah.
have this empowering, it's a very empowering feeling also.
And
And
safety, right? Would you say like I had to feel so incredibly safe and open? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that part, it's
yeah,
just like I knew
ha-
I had a moment where I was like, I knew like in the early labor, I was like, if I was in a hospital, they would probably have to give me a cesarean birth. There's just no way. Yeah, I could feel it. I was like, there's no way because of my past medical trauma. You're putting me in a very unsafe space to give birth. My body will not open. It's not safe. And
yes.
so, I knew in that moment was like, wow, this whole unfolding because birth is very so present, right? It's so in the moment.
Like a ceremony. It's so, so magical. And, to miss out of that, it's like
Mm,
you really want to prepare yourself. It's like the most beautiful rite of passage for a woman. And you grow immensely and you become whole through births if you allow yourself to give yourself that safe space
mhm.
to even break your own limitations, to express
Mm,
the depths of your soul, of your womanhood. So, like some women just like go on all four and growl.
mm,
Movement, there's breath, there's toning, there's just
mhm,
like all of this um, kind of that subconscious feminine energy comes and is present. And if, it's so beautiful to be a woman and like have that expressed in a
mm.
safe space, totally. So with my daughter, I've been receiving a lot of information about her already, like even before conception, like 2 years before she was born. I was already like, okay, she's teaching me this. Okay, now
Oh, I
she wants
love it. Yeah,
to
tell us
follow
about
me.
that. This is my people want to hear this.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so even the first time she came to me, we went to visit Hawaii. We went to visit Kauai. My son was
Mm,
3 months old, and we were on the beach, and suddenly I'm like dizzy, cannot
mm.
walk. I'm like not even, I can't see. I'm like, whoa, I'm not feeling well. I need to lie down. So my husband took my son for a walk. I lie down and I feel her presence
Wow.
very, very strongly. I'm very surprised, shocked, almost like, well, I had my belly out here just a few months ago. The labor was like crazy. I've never experienced anything like that. That's really intense, maybe we're good. Like
Well, you have a 3-month old. You're still in the portal.
I'm
I
like
know.
still like what's happening? My
Yeah.
whole life changed. Like, give me a break. And then she goes in almost like into my
Mm.
being, into my cellular memory, and starts pulling out anything that would feel like a trauma. I didn't had a traumatic first birth, but it was definitely like this, this is intense. Oh, like, I could feel the pain also of it. I could feel that, is this right? Right? It was a 20-hour labor. So it was a lot. It was definitely like the hardest thing I've ever done, right? Like it's that like, oof. like that was huge and amazing. And I have my son, but also becoming a mother is huge. And right. And so she just starts like with the most blissgasmic, loving energy. It's like it just starts penetrating my cells and she starts pulling it out. Like any memory of fear or trauma or pain, she starts pulling it out until I'm just like melted. I'm just like all love, right? And I am able to witness her. And I'm like, I'm kind of seeing my daughter, and she's really precious to me. And I feel like this is the most beautiful goddess I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen the
Mm.
most beautiful divine feminine, right? I'm like, I like get hit straight to my heart with the
Mhm.
most incredible love for her. And so I'm like, yes, like just like take me, my body, I'm in devotion to you. I'm giving you 20 years of
Mm.
my life. Like you have me, right? And it was like that open door. And we really like, she arrived. And since that day, we talked as we are a family of four.
Mm.
It was just like we really allowed her to be present and already guide the journey a little bit. And, so it was very beautiful. But the really important things that she did with me was definitely that clearing. And so she, with the connection with her soul, I was able to forget any imprinting from the first birth. And this is what
Mm.
I do also in my womb activations, to clear the womb of any imprinting of pain, or there's sometimes some abuse that happens, or miscarriages, things like that. And the womb wants to be cleared and be the pristine space for creation, for life force, like for this ecstatic bliss. And so it's really important to do that. And then later during the pregnancy, I did had a big session where I cleared the collective consciousness, and I
Mm.
was able to stop believing the
Mm.
illusion. I was able to like really, but really embody uh like an embodiment where I don't believe there's pain at birth. I don't
Mm.
believe complications at birth, right? Like I had to really
Yeah.
operate in my belief system, because we are manifestors in a way. We're not like, life's not happening to us, right? Like it's like all for us, and it's all being created by us as well. And
Mm.
it's a reflection of the inside, right? So when we clear the inner scape and our inner womb and our inner waters and the belief systems, that's the mirror. We get that reality.
Mhm.
So it is really possible to birth in that way. And I believe you've done a lot of inner work to get to that place too.
Yeah, with my first birth, I actually like psychically knew something was going to be off. And I think that's what scared me from even becoming a mother. I was like, but I couldn't see that far in the timeline. Like I realized during my pregnancy, I don't know what the term is, but I had pregnancy phobia. I was like
Mm,
scared of birth and I was like, I knew that wasn't normal, but I didn't have you to activate my womb. Like I didn't know what to do at that time. And this was like 13 years ago. And I was trying to open to receive, but I was also quite terrified inside. My trauma was way beyond before the pregnancy. And that's the piece that was never really addressed. It was trying to. And then moving through that, I remember having to transfer. I felt like I was in a liminal space. I was like, I don't even know what's happening. What is happening outside of me? Me and my son were okay the whole time, and we were. And all I kept thinking was, I'm giving my son a traumatic foundation right now. And it was hard because I was like,
mm,
oh shit, what am I going to do? I'm like, so I maintained this sense of intuition as best as I could. And I really actually, I'm going to talk about it more in a larger like platform, but it's like, what I had to go through to defend for myself and my birth in a system was literally like a war. Like put on the gear and get ready. And then you're vulnerable. You're bringing in sacred life. Yeah, I like that you're breathing for me. People can watch the video. I'm like, yeah, let me take a breath here for a minute because it's a lot. And it
oh,
was,
I have
yeah, it's so traumatic. And then I was like, so then I go, I'm never doing this again. That's what I told myself, right? Hello, this little sweet, pure, loving boy wants to come and be born. And he knew more than I knew because I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm done. I'm
Mhm.
good. So it took me like 5.5 years. And that's when I started meeting all the womb healers around the world and all these different beautiful, just light languages, light healing, all kinds of stuff. And I had to like just scrape away layers, layers, layers. And then when my son came, I was terrified in my pregnancy. I'm not going to pretend I was okay, but I cried a lot because I was scared the same energy wanted to be in creation. And so I stepped forward and deeper and I owned it more. I was like, it's okay to have fear, Kelly. It's okay to have trauma. It doesn't mean he has to have that and be a part of it. And he wasn't. The birth was incredible. It was what I've never expected. His energy of his birth and who he is such love in such a different way. Like it almost felt like, and it's something I shared and I was almost ashamed of after he was born because he loved me so much that I was like, what if I reject him? I didn't know what it was like to have that kind of love without trauma, because it's like the firstborn trauma, love. I was born through trauma, love, and this child was born through just love. And I was just like blowing my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, yeah, like you said, there was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But like something you said, it feels really powerful. It's just you're kind of deconstructing and like going into like, women just think, oh, well, maybe I'm just going to show up and do it. But some of us have to like really know where our energy is being held. And the collective, like you said, I mean, it is powerful. We see things in the media. I remember someone called up and was like, hey, don't give birth at home. I'm scared for your life. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is that happening? And it was just reaffirmed to me that, like, don't worry about me. Like, I know what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like taking it to the next level. So what made you feel like, maybe you have a thought there, but I want to know, like, when you were moving into this free birth energy, like what was the intention, you and your partnership, what did they feel about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely that like going to war or like really doing so much inner work that you hold space for yourself because the rest of the world doesn't.
Mm.
With birthing. And I could really feel that. With the first one, we actually lived in Bali, and then last minute, 38 weeks pregnant, I decide, oh, I want to go to this remote island. We were in this spiritual Bali bubble. Nobody had children in our community, so they're like, amazing. They send us off on a boat to this remote island, right? Like it was very just like very naive, all of that. And there was like no reference of fear around it
Mm.
because everyone was just like kind of never experienced
Mm.
it, they didn't had any idea, right? So with my second birth, we were going to give birth in Hawaii. That was very, very important for my daughter to be born on the Hawaiian Islands. And um, I am from Europe and we live in Asia, and I just am really scared. If there's one thing, I'm scared of the birthing medical system of US. That's like, I think the biggest like boogeyman. Yeah.
Mm.
Honestly, because I know other country, you just become so like stripped of your rights. And
Mm.
yeah, that was just like a scary thing for me, honestly, because I feel like
Yeah.
once you get there, you just forced to, I don't know, that just
You're
didn't feel
owned. You're owned. That's
yeah,
the
yeah. And
that they own you, they own your baby. You're not like a paying customer. Yeah, it's very much set up that way here.
I don't know the society well, and I don't know my
Yeah.
rights enough,
Yeah.
to navigate that. And I don't want my child to be,
Mm.
infected and touched afterwards, or, and then they have all this social stuff. And I'm like I've seen enough, right, of that in
Mm.
the movies or around the net. And so that was so it was a definitely kind of like just a doula or rebirth situation, just because we were in US and that was scary. In Bali, it's freedom. In
Mm.
Bali, it is like you are the leader, the boss of your birth, right? Like I had a midwife. I ended up having a midwife and went to her clinic on this remote island with my first birth. And it was just, we turned up the lights, put, sheepskins and candles underwear and child, like, we just did our thing. And
Mm,
it was just making me laugh and so that was like, and they didn't even had anything, they just had some gloves and sanitizer, and she gave me like an IV because I was dehydrated. I was trying to
mm,
give birth on a beach. And so I was like, she gave me the IV and then I dilated, I was not dilating properly. I was dehydrated. And then once I got hydrated, so it was almost like
mm,
but it was beautiful, right? Because there's just
mm,
absolutely zero force.
mhm,
And yeah, so anyways, still, even though I am surrounded by very like-minded people, I was 42 and a half weeks still.
mm.
And that's when I started to receive messages, even from good friends, like-minded women. Maybe you need to go check up. Like there was this coming
Yeah,
through. But for me, I knew that there's no way to open that door, because at that stage, it would be there would be an intervention immediately from the medical
yeah.
space. And so, and I just kept going with what I felt.
Mm, mhm.
And every day I just felt more orgasmic, just juicy. I was just like rolling my hips and the belly was coming down. And it's almost like I felt like she was 1 centimeter away. Like she was like, I could literally
Mm,
felt like, oh, I just like, if I just touch my yoni, I can feel her head. Like
mm.
she's just gonna pop. It just popped out. That was
Wow.
literally it.
Yeah.
42 and a half weeks. And then I had a 2 hour free birth and never pushed. It was suddenly just,
Mm.
I was just beginning. I just got into the bathtub and then boom, popped out. You like trusting her,
Yeah.
trusting timing was amazing. And nobody else trusted. It was just me and my husband
I think
trusted.
it's so I mean this is so good to hear because it feels like even in your well-meaning community, people are like, "Hey, knock, knock,
Yeah.
I'm concerned." And it's like, wow, it makes you look at the collective and go, what kind of fear? Like I'm having someone call me up like days before I give birth, telling me they're scared for my life. And I'm like, what is that? And then you're even, oh, well, 42. It's like, wow, why can't we just be expansive to be like super positive in those spaces? If you have fear, you keep it to yourself. Because I knew that people saying that, that's their issue, right? But it's
Yeah.
also not like, you're just like, really? Come on. And so, but you go into that intimate cocoon. You said you and your husband were there together, and then
Yeah.
she's just here and you're doing it together. And that's amazing.
Yeah, and so then that safety piece, right? It was so beautiful because, I was in my home, or the place where we were living at that time. And so it was so beautiful just to be in the shower. And I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
think it's starting, suddenly it was just like, okay, in the shower, like 5 minutes, every 5 minutes, right? So I took like a 15-minute shower and I'm like, would you like to bring our son upstairs to stay with our friends? Um, so we can just tune into our
Yeah.
energy, right? Comes back, it's like every 4 minutes, like, let's just fill up the bathtub, right? And so like,
Mm,
I'm on the ball, and the bathtub's ready. Like that started the waves, the contraction started at
mhm,
7 p.m. At 8 p.m., I get in the bathtub, right? And I'm like, WhatsApping my girlfriends, this little support group on the Hawaii island, and all is good. We're starting the labors and the prayers. She was born 9 p.m. Like
mm,
it was insane. And then that 1 hour, I dropped the phone, the playlist is on. All I can see the whole pregnancy is purple. She is the purple queen. She
mm,
loves purple, purple roses. I have a purple light. We have a heater, so it's really warm.
mm,
My husband is naked. I am naked, right? In the hot water. He's massaging,
mm,
kissing me, we're touching each other. It
mm,
was so, so, so beautiful. With every wave, it's like he's either pouring water around my back or massaging the hips, pressing the
mm,
right. So it's like was so beautiful. We've already done it. He already learned. We
mm.
trusted each other 100%. He trusted me. I trusted
Yeah.
him. And after each wave, after each of those like intense, right, like openings,
Mm, mhm.
of the cervix is like the elixir, right? That inner
Mm-hmm.
hormones, that bliss cocktails. It's like I cannot believe it because I've really, I already know what birth is, and I really deconditioned all the fear, and there was no fear present because there
Mm.
was also nobody else, and my husband was just he was just like in service, in devotion. He was no,
Mm.
just presence, just pure masculine presence, right? So there was no fear in the room. And, every time after these waves, it was so incredible. There's so much ecstasy and celebration. And I
Mm.
remember saying, oh my gosh, she's coming. I can't wait. I am
Mm.
so excited. Oh my gosh, I love her so
Wow.
much. And so like those 45
Mm-hmm.
seconds between those moments when I had to like breathe or tone, right? It was just like this. It was like this overflow of celebration of like,
Mm.
but it was, look, I have like chills just
I love
talking
it.
about
Yeah,
it because
yeah.
I feel that again. And it was like, and it just like started to build higher and higher and higher, right? Like almost like when you can't even contain the ecstasy
Mm. Mm-hmm.
in like a physical mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly something really big was coming, like a very big energy.
Mm.
And I was like, I thought I might check, right? If I'm like open, like I might just like after a few hours, like see the progress or, like
Mm.
there's going to be some breathing room. I was just like in this celebration and
Mm.
suddenly something huge, huge, huge was coming. And there was a split second. There was like not even like less than split second. And I could like, am I ready? Do I have to check
Mm.
like this, like mind trying to come in for a split
Yes.
second? Like, is this okay? Like almost like wanting like, but nobody checked me right.
Yeah.
It was like that feeling, and I could start contracting, but then I had no chance. Like that just got like went away, and
Yeah.
I like when I surrendered, I exploded into like 10,000 pieces. It was like, I was like, there was no time. I was like, okay, take me. And boom, I
Mm.
like went 10,000 pieces. I was one with all source, fireworks,
Mm.
like, wow, like those angelic sounds, right? Like all of it. Like it was
And then you
just
were holding your baby after that, like
so it was just like this surrender to like actually where we come from, to actual oneness,
Mm.
to like I was feeling all, I was whole with universe,
Mm.
and that's how her head came
I
out.
was gonna say, were you able to pick her up?
Yeah, I mean, so her head came out, and I was still in the water. I was kind of like this on my floor and
Mm-hmm.
my hands on the bathtub. And we looked at each other, and that was the most beautiful moment
Mm.
of my life, shared with my husband.
Mm.
We had a beautiful wedding and we had beautiful moments in our lives, but it was like I was seeing him like this 16-hand god of
Mm.
consciousness of all. Like he was so in my mind and doing
Mm.
everything so right. And he was witnessing me and seeing me like the most incredible woman that birthed her daughter, like in this ecstatic way, and
Mm.
like just the biggest queen of his life, right? And like we had so much ecstasy. He was feeling the same thing running through us, like our eyes wide open, looking at each other. We couldn't believe. We thought it felt like 10 minutes. We thought we are just beginning. We did a
Mm.
20-hour birth before, and now kind of like in our, you know, quantum time, 10 minutes later, she was out. Like, I
Mm.
was like, oh my
It's
gosh,
so
what just
timeless too when you're in birth. It's like you don't even know what's happening. You're like you enter another consciousness for sure.
was? And then there was just the most incredible peace. I rolled over and I just like kind of lied back. And I took a deep breath, and and her body came out. And I don't even remember. I think he said, was there like, was it like, was the cord tied around? I don't remember. I think I just like,
Mm. You just instincts came, it kicked in.
oh my girl,
Yeah.
she was perfect. I was like,
Oh.
oh my gosh, and then like take her. I mean, like we have those we weren't able to record because it was so
Yeah,
everything
you were so in the
was so
moment.
fast. But then afterwards she was born, he like immediately grabbed the video, and it was so so beautiful. We were just kissing more and celebrating, and it was just like this eternal peace.
Mm,
And that frequency, what you said, like she was born in a bubble of pure peace,
mm,
safety, love. She
mm,
has an energetic imprint of pleasure and bliss
mm.
as her core, as her essence. And it's very special, and these children just feel different. They
So I'm curious, I may have missed this in the part of the story. So did you birth, you didn't go to Hawaii, you didn't go to the islands, and you stayed in Bali then to have her?
No, no, she was born in Hawaii.
Oh, you did
Yes.
get there. I wasn't sure because I heard you talking about going on and maybe I'm getting the little okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was my first one. Yes,
Oh,
but the
that's
first
what okay. I think I was holding that in my mind. I'm going, wait a second, where did we end up birthing? So
no,
that's right. You said Kauai, right? Yeah.
he
Is that
was
what you
born
said?
on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
came to
so maybe this is a good thing to ask. I'm sure people are curious too, is do you read books about it before? Like, how does, because I feel like unassisted free birth, everyone does it a little bit different.
yes. I I couldn't really read books around pregnancies. I did read some books that really imprinted me with beautiful codes for pregnancies and
Mm,
birthing,
hmm.
which, I feel were just like a more of a spiritual download and, channeling for those things. So it was the Sophia code, which I think
Oh,
is
okay.
like
Yeah, I've heard
so
of that. Yeah.
feminine. Right now I'm reading The Womb Awakening, which I didn't read before, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, everything, so much truth,
Mm,
like, so I love that book. It tells you a lot about pregnancy or just like your moon time and bleeding and the sacredness of that. And this, it really shares a beautiful vision of this energetic imprint
hmm.
at birth, so it's very beautiful. Um, other like there's this cute channeled book, Anna, the grandmother of Jesus,
Oh,
and they kind
okay.
of talk about like conception and the birthing of Jesus and things
Oh,
like that,
wow. Yeah.
from a different perspective, more from the Essene teachings and so on. So, um,
There's
yeah.
somebody recommended a book to me on free birthing. That's why I was curious. And I have it in my Amazon. I forgot the name of it because someone's like, oh, no, this is a really good book. And I'm thinking, because I know more than 10 years ago, I knew two women that they called it unassisted birthing. And one woman was a friend of ours, and she said she sent her husband away in a cabin in the middle of nowhere and birthed her children. And then it was all fine. That's what she wanted to do. And she's a great artist. And the second person, this was her third, who had medical intervention in the past and home birth. And she's like, she had a little blow up pool in her living room. And she's like, I think and it popped, it didn't work, but her and her husband were able to unassist her daughter, but she couldn't talk about it with anybody besides me. But I was always very open. Long time ago, I was like, do what feels right. I wasn't even scared for her. I feel like people know how to trust their bodies and do it, right? And so
Definitely.
now I feel like now, yeah, now it's like there's so many books about it. That's why I'm like, well, maybe, because some people will say, oh, I did some medical course or I learned certain interventions. I've watched some free birth videos and I noticed that the women put their mouths on the baby's nose and suck it out. So I'm just curious. I'm like, is that a thing or
Yeah, so I think that intuition really kicks in
yeah.
because you see, like that unwrapping of the card. Of course, I'm not gonna pull her
Yeah.
if like it's just like
Yeah.
that's not a problem. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
If they have something, yeah, you can suck like, she was
Yeah.
clean, perfect. You
Yeah.
see if she can if the baby can breathe or not. If you need to maybe like give it a little,
Yeah. Well, I know
you know,
babies aren't breathing when
and
they're,
if
a
there's
lot of
any
babies don't breathe when they're born, right? And that's
but
pretty
this is
normal.
like the mother knows. And I like there's just like
I love
no.
that.
There's no
Yeah.
there's no 1% of women that will not know what to do. Like it's just is
Yeah.
you gave birth, you know how to keep the child alive. Like
Wow.
these
Yeah.
little moments. Of course, there's a tiny little percentage of,
Of course.
of complications, but it's not like 50%, or whatever's
Yeah.
happening in the
I know, I'm
medical.
just trying to think of, yeah, like again,
But
because yeah, go ahead.
there's the Free Birth Society, which is
Yes,
an amazing resource, and I think they have also a course.
they
And
do.
I did tune into that course at 42 weeks because I was like,
You're like, what am I doing? I'm gonna.
hey,
You probably
let
couldn't
me
even
see.
go through it. It's too late.
No, it was too late, so I just
Yeah,
went to like that last bit of like the I don't even know that term, but if there
yeah,
is like a poop in the water, like I just went through like two modules
yeah,
talking about the later stages of
yeah.
and they speak about it, and they also say, well, it's not a big deal. It's just like,
Yeah, see, this is what I love. And I do know, I know I met Emily before she created that whole beautiful work back when she was living in California, LA as a doula. I knew her then. And to see what she created and built is incredible. And I think it's Yolanda. Just to hear them speak sometimes, it's just really, it's a fight of like, there's so much energy there and what they're, but it's also like really amazing. And I'm like, I'm always so like curious. And, some of the things I really learned just throughout, I call myself a birth advocate and learning in the world over these 13 years now with, because my son brought me into all this work, is that, and I think I'm more outspoken now than I've ever been. And I'm so tired of women saying like, if I wasn't in this situation, the hospital or wherever, my baby's cord was wrapped around their neck. And I'm like, isn't that like over 90% of people have the cord? Like, I want to demystify that. I'm not going to say emergencies don't happen, but I know that the systems create the emergencies. And I loved your story, and I can really feel that energy that you're sharing about you're just caring as a mother and a child instinctually, and that you have that space, even though maybe the world isn't giving you space. I don't know how you said it, but I was like, yeah. And like you have to create that. You have to trust and move into your instincts, and that there are so many women that are doing it. It's not like you're the only one. That could be comforting. But even things like these myths of like, oh, but if the doctor wasn't there, I would have died, right? I can't handle that quote. I'm like, that's what I hear. I'm like, okay, whatever. Everybody thinks they're going to die because that's what they've told us. Birth's
and
dangerous, it's a disease, it's a disability. And even like women and their bodies, like I can't handle this one when people say, well, my body, my hips are small and I can't give birth. I go, your body's not going to grow a baby that your body cannot birth. And I say, I'm sorry that you were fooled and tricked into believing that, because that's all it is.
yeah, I love that. I totally love that. And then, it in those settings, I mean, I don't know so much about the hospital settings
Yeah.
as you know, but I do believe that yes, once you get all of those injections and maybe the epidural, you're
Yeah.
not even in your senses, and then the
No,
baby receives the dose too.
I
And so
know.
heart rates start going down, and now the baby is dying.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, well, it would have died if there wasn't an
Yeah.
right, like because there was an intervention, there needs to be another one. So I really believe in, giving the babies their natural time
Mm.
and, their natural environment, and keeping it as natural as possible. And honestly, we are made to, even if it's painful,
Yeah.
even if if you're gonna face something that you are meant to overcome, that you are meant
Mm.
to unlock within you. Maybe it's even those traumas and things that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
before, and now you have an like understanding.
Mm.
You navigate, you resolve something through those birthing pains and through that. So just to like take yourself out
Mm.
of the ceremony, I think it's a very like you're missing out on a huge opportunity to transform your life and to be the most empowered goddess, woman, mother, to really get to know yourself deeper and to stand in your power.
I love this you say ceremony. I love that. It's like, yeah, it's a ceremony. Let's look. What a beautiful, like, different shift of energy, right? Instead of making it like birth and like I even now if I tune into that environment, I'm like, wow, it's so intense that women are a part of that. And some people are doing stuff about it, but it really takes the individual, I feel, to step inward and go. But I'm curious, is how were you born? Do you
Oh,
know?
I was born in a hospital, yes.
How was the but did your was it an easy birth for your mom? Was it hard?
I
Was
think
it
it was also a very quick birth. She
okay?
kind of called me. She was like, the doctor was not there, and everyone was telling her, wait, wait,
Oh,
wait, we need to wait
interesting.
for the doctor. She was like, she really felt like I'm coming, right? So it was probably a little
Mm,
quick. I was the second. I have an older brother. And, it
mm,
was 30 years ago in Slovakia, and the doctor
mm.
came, they do the cut.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah, it was just like a normal procedure, right? And then I
Yeah.
just popped out,
There you go.
like it or something. So I think it wasn't traumatizing
Yeah.
for her. It was just like a norm.
Yeah.
And she had like just an amazing birth within the norm of
Yeah.
the,
And
you
yeah,
know,
that kind of
hospital
system
and
for
the
sure.
procedures. But I don't think there was any like interventions other than
Yeah.
the I don't know the
Yeah,
name.
I love that you shared that because I'm always so curious because in the work that I do see people's origins. I
Mm,
actually have a new ability in the past like year. Haven't done this before, but I can see and like people as embryos and like what
mm,
your conscious connection was and in how you were in pregnancy and what your birth was. And so I get very curious because in my sessions, some women that really struggled to conceive had really challenging preconception spirit and body experiences and they don't even know it because you can go to the doctor and be like and then there's all this layers of intervention when it's really just layers of trauma that want resolution so the body can then go wait because women don't realize their body is in fright and trauma and they don't really know it. It's very subconscious, right? And then it's not being resolved because it's almost hidden. And then once it becomes more outwardly, the emotion gets expressed. It's like then there's space. And I always tell women like it's okay. You can have trauma, most people do, and you can still receive pregnancy and birth beautifully. It doesn't have to be, but I know from me and my stories, these literally like night and day stories, I knew stepping into motherhood was going to be a massive lineage change for me. And when we're changing lineage, oh my gosh, like it is the hardest thing ever. Like so hard. But I was like, I'm putting the energy into it because I always thought, well, maybe I won't become a mother because that's how fearful I was of what if I don't know how to raise children? What if I don't know how to birth them? I was really conditioned. And then what I told myself one day literally was like, you are very selfish if you're gonna hold back these other souls that may want to come and be born. So then I was like, okay, Kelly, get out of your own way. And then my
yeah,
firstborn came, and then my second came years later at the old age of 40. I'm just joking. But then I was just kind of like, wow, because then it changed the whole path and what I do, and it actually brought me into this work. And
yes.
so my children brought me into this work. And so then I go, okay. And like you said, the womb work you do, there's so much in our wombs. My gosh, there's like layers, right? Of just so much that wants to heal.
And the lineage always comes up as well, for sure. And this is so much true. Like that imprint of the conception and the pregnancy is maybe 90% of what we'll end up living for
Mm,
like in a way. And I can see how uh, my husband having a different imprint in the womb
mm,
deals with more stuff than I got to deal when I had a very like loving,
mhm,
pregnancy and everything, like no complications and things like that. So it's absolutely on point. And that's why I think it really is like the most sacred job
mm,
on earth, is to actually give that blissful, happy, or even you can
mm,
cry a lot, but you're actually dealing with that trauma, like that soulful pregnancies and
mm.
soulful births to the next generation. We could literally change the humanity just in one generation if all
Wow.
would birth these free beings from trauma, from all these imprints, right? So it is huge. It's the most sacred work, and
Yeah.
still it is like taboo, or it's like
Yeah.
it's so attacked and distorted. And
Yes.
you ask questions, right? Like, why? We need to claim that. And really, if we
Yeah.
want to see the consciousness of planet Earth rise, then it's in our hands, it's in our wombs.
Oh, I love that. It's in our wombs. And, you make me think about like even, you know, yeah, these early imprints, what kind of birth experiences, because I can even just see it with my home birth child, like who was born, like the way his immune system is, the way he sees the world, the peacefulness he has. And I'm going, yeah, that's a real thing. This foundation, which is so twisted for everybody, I notice, like a majority of people. And in the world, and especially I live in a city. And so it's like, but it's just, I know that there's something to that foundation because of the way he is. And I remember when he was really little, people would ask me about his energy, which I thought was fascinating. I was like, "What do you see about him?" I'm like, "I want to see what other people see because he's my boy. I love him, and I see him in the most reverence." But other people would comment, and there's like, I actually this one lady, see, I don't know what it is. There's something different about his energy, and I'm like, huh. And I really felt like he was glowing, and the way he came into love connection with these women and with his mother just in happiness. And I remember that beautiful umbilical cord. It was just like iridescent light to me. And I was also over 41 weeks, by the way. And wasn't even worried. I didn't even go there. I didn't even care. And I remember the midwives were like looking through the placenta. They go, "We always have to look through it, make sure it doesn't look aged." And they go, "It doesn't look aged at all," which is interesting because, oh my gosh, you're over 40 weeks. It's age, something's wrong. And I remember just going from the living room into like my bedroom and just seeing the summer trees out the window all green and just being with my son in the most peaceful way. And I want that for all women. I really do. Because I feel like I know in my own visceral body what it was like to be born with trauma, and it sucks. And it's a hard journey. And not to shame women, you may have a traumatic birth and your child goes through it, and you can work with that energy and frequency, but it's still that foundational piece that's just a part of life, right? It's like, someone once told me, it's not just your birth story, it's everybody's. It's your sons, your partners, maybe the sibling. And it's like, oh, I don't own it, really. It's a part of all of us, and we all did our part in that, right? It's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
I love that. I know. I am so grateful that there is this shift, and this awakening. And honestly, like, yeah, when you go on internet or you watch
Yeah.
YouTube, it's just so empowering. So if you have a doubt in like, can I do it? Or you still have some conditioning, just, go ahead and listen to all the podcasts, watch
Mm.
all the home births, and it will become normal. We need to like take
Yes.
the abnormal that was broadcasted as normal and just put it out of our consciousness and start imprinting ourselves with what's normal,
Mm.
or what we desire, what we wish. And you can really just receive that frequency and do it. I'm sure, it's available for us, I feel, just
Yeah.
because of the shifts in the consciousness, like everything,
Yeah.
like the timelines are going so much faster. There's
They
so
are.
much growth. What before took 20 years, now it's like within a
Yeah.
year, within 2 years,
Yeah.
so much. And so we are really blessed that we can even decondition these lineages and truly birth a
And
new earth.
this is why I love the free birth energy, the movement, and why I want to really expand that through with other people, even women that are very much freaking out over. I'm like, no, let's talk about it. Let's bring it in to the literally the vibration of the space, create something, because really it's about bringing back that natural instinctual empowerment. And like you said, it's birthing a new humanity. And I do see the bright future. I know other people can see denser timelines, but I see that the new earth children, the way the earth wants to grow and blossom, and that coming back to our instincts and nature. And um, yeah, I mean, we're all in that journey, but I want you to share, I'd love like final words, but also ways that people can find you and be a part of this energy and community that you're sharing.
Yes, absolutely. Do connect with me on Instagram because that's where I share the most. And you can also go through my highlights and you'll see the pregnancy and birth. And you can tune in a little bit into like that little bubble. We were just so
Mm,
blissgasmic. And you'll see those first moments of my baby girl, that purple light, me and my husband kissing, all of that. So it's in the highlights. My Instagram is Laila Aluna Love _. So maybe you might just clip it or type it, in the podcast
so it's
detail.
Lila, not Layla. I think I said Layla.
I did pronounce it Laila, yes. But I know that there's
You know that,
it's
yeah, I'm gonna say it wrong. Well, thank you, Lila, for being here. This was so amazing to have you. And
and
yeah,
also
I look forward to seeing more of what you bring out in the world in this energy.
yes, if you do feel like you want to move a little bit through the womb trauma or you want to receive preconception journey or pregnancy support and so on, I do that as, that's my gifts. That's what I share with
Mhm.
women, and I have different mentorships and packages. So definitely get in touch with me. I'm so excited we got to open this topic, and wow, it was just like so beautiful. I'm so grateful for you and the space you hold, in the consciousness and
Mm.
for your community. And thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
want to thank you all for joining episode 185, A Free Birth Experience of Love, Connection, and Self-Trust. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.